Caloroga Shark Media.
I love this joke from Seth Meyers. President Biden and former President Trump are set to face off in 2 presidential debates. Biden is looking forward to laying out his 2024 agenda, while Trump is happy to go somewhere where nobody will draw him while he sleeps. That is great. Fallon said Biden and Trump will meet June 27th on CNN, and one of Biden debate's conditions was not having an audience, so that explains why it's on CNN. Trump agreed to the debate. He said, "I'll be there, assuming it's okay with my parole officer." We are covering all of that on the Ballot podcast if you want to check that one out. Oh, another one from Seth. Biden getting Trump to agree to no audiences. This is a great joke. Let me set it up again. It's such a good joke. It's well crafted. Biden getting Trump to agree to no audiences is like getting a vampire to fight you at noon on the beach during the garlic festival. Really well written. Stephen Colbert with the winner, though. Imagine Trump with his mic cut. He's going to look like the world's angriest mime. Meanwhile, did you see this new portrait of King Charles? If you haven't, just Google King Charles portrait. It's epic. It looks like he's the devil. It's red. It's intense. It's great. I wish my portrait looked as cool as this one. We're talking about it over on the Palace Intrigue podcast. Wow, 2 plugs in the first 90 seconds, John. Way to cross-promote. You're welcome, other shows. Desi Lydic hosting The Daily Show. We'll talk about Desi in a second, but she had 2 good ones. Obviously, this portrait is a pretty big departure from other portraits of the royal family. For example, Queen Elizabeth was often painted with her beloved corgis. Compare that to Charles, who looks like he was painted with her corgis once Kristi Noem was finished with them. Wow. Now, clearly, this painting has gotten a lot of negative feedback, but King Charles swears that he loves the portrait, which probably means that he's having an affair with another portrait on the side. Wow. Great stuff. Oh, I thought the Desi Lydic story was in today's podcast. It's in Sunday's podcast. Never mind. We're not going to talk about Desi at all. Here's my quick thought on Desi. Give her The Daily Show. That's it. Not qualifying at all. I get the whole Jon Stewart thing. Fine. John can do Mondays. John can do Mondays forever. Give the show to Desi. She's the right choice. Why are we messing around? Just do it. Give it to her. More on that tomorrow, because I'm in a bad mood. Why are you in a bad mood, John? Here, because it's 4 o'clock on Friday. 4 o'clock on Friday, I like to be hanging out on my deck with a beverage, but there were some capers today. I'm only starting work at 4 o'clock on a Friday, so I'm grouchy. It's not your problem. Nikki Glaser was on the whatever hour of the Today Show it is when you get Hoda and whatever Bush daughter that is. You know that one? The sort of Today Show? Nikki was on that. She thinks Tom Brady, quote, maybe didn't consider the backlash from his family and how it would affect them. She expressed disbelief that Tom Brady wasn't aware what he was getting into, noting he could have prepared by watching, comedy roasts. Nikki said, I think it's kind of a thing you say after the fact. It's impossible to me that he didn't consider that could have happened. Glaser joked that she thinks Brady couldn't take it because no one has ever said a bad thing to him in the past 30 years. I get a sense it was a little more than he'd planned for. He hadn't planned out to react, and it kind of jarred him. I don't think he thought they were going to go there. By the way, 0 buzz on Nikki Glaser's HBO special. The HBO special's prestige, I'll use the word prestige, has gone way down. Nikki's been doing press all week. All the press has been about the Tom Brady roast, which is 13 days ago now. None of it about her special. Oh, she's promoting the special, but nobody's talking about the special. Bobby Kelly was on I-95. DJ Lou asked Bobby what he thought of it. Robert Kelly said, I'll give you my rankings. Nikki Glaser, 1. Tony Hinchcliffe, 2. Drew Bledsoe, 3. Belichick, 4. Andrew Schultz, 5. And then I'd say, Kevin Hart stinks. Yeah, I'm going to go there. Just wing it. He pulled a Keith Robinson. He just repeated, oh, wow, Nikki, she was great. All right, Nikki, all right, dude, just read off the teleprompter, write a joke, stop giving us all personality. You're 4-2, we get it, you're full of jazz. I disagree. I thought Kevin Hart was hilarious. And I have previously questioned out loud why we gave Kevin Hart the Mark Twain Comedy Award for prize. That's not a sentence. I'm not revoicing that. You know what I meant. Yeah, I'm not the biggest Kevin Hart fan, but Robert Kelly, why are you giving Kevin Hart a hard time? He did a good job. DJ Lou asked, how does it work with people who are not comedians, like the athletes? I assume those people have jokes written for them by the other comedians? Is that the deal? Robert Kelly said, yeah, they have about 20 writers that you never see that are writing jokes, and then Jeff Ross goes in and takes the best one off the top, and then there are people writing for Drew Bledsoe. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter. You can write a good joke for somebody. If they can't deliver it with a little something, if they can't make it their own, it's going to stink like Randy Moss and Ben. I mean, Jesus, Ben turned into a crack addict halfway through his set. His lips were sticking to his fake teeth. Oh, Ben Affleck is who we're talking about. I was like, what? You know what I mean? Isn't it funny that the fake teeth made me figure out who he meant? These actors don't understand when you're bombing, your mouth goes dry and you need a sip of something. DJ Lou asked, how about Tony Hinchcliffe? You mentioned him. I think he was great too. Yeah, Tony is. If I were to say anybody, Jeff is great, the roast master, whatever they call him. You know what they call him. Come on, Robert Kelly. You've been in comedy for 25 years at least. You know who he is. Don't act like you don't know that Jeff Ross is the roast master. That's what he's known as. Jeff is great, the roast master, whatever they call him. Never heard of the guy. Who? Jeff what? Never heard of him. But I think Tony's more of that guy. He knows how to deliver a joke. I don't know if he's gay or bisexual, straight. I don't know what he is. Odd thing to bring up. Who cares? He's funny. He's very ripped torn. He has the swagger of a Navy SEAL and a gay man combined. That's a great combo. The tip of the spear in both ways. He's just got that confidence. He hammered him. I don't even know what to make of that interview. Dave Chappelle controversy. Always fun from the SF Gate. The headline, Dave Chappelle called me out at his surprise San Francisco show. Now, I wasn't aware of the surprise San Francisco show until Friday. I think this one happened 9 days ago as you listen to this podcast. Hadn't seen anything about Chappelle all week. But at the surprise show at the Punchline, Dan Gentile writes, Dave Chappelle crossed plenty of lines doing cringy Chinese accents, leaning into Jewish stereotypes, and gleefully yelling LGBTQ slurs, but midway through the set, he checked himself and stopped the joke short, pivoting to how hard it is to be a celebrity because there's always one snitch in the room. He peered around at the tightly packed 182-person audience, saying he was going to find the snitch. All right, the Gate tells us the night began with a stellar opening set by Oakland-born comic Daoud Naimyar. I'm not familiar with Daoud, whose pro-Palestinian videos led to the cancellation of several gigs last November. Then Chappelle began his fourth and final show of this run. 4 surprise shows? How come we didn't hear about these? By talking about how he got in trouble with the local news in 2023 for a joke about how San Francisco needed a Batman. Oh, I see. The writer and Chappelle have a bit of a history here. Oh, this is fun. Let's keep reading. The local news was me. My story about the show went viral and was aggregated by Fox News, resulting in the most hate mail I've ever received. They even found me on LinkedIn. It's not hard to find somebody on LinkedIn. For example, my name is John McDermott. I say Johnny Mac on the air because it's easier to say Johnny Mac. Even though my name is John McDermott, it is hard to say the N into the M. So air name, Johnny Mac. If you go on LinkedIn and you type in John McDermott, it's a fairly common name. Once you get the McDermott, you get a lot of Johns. But you can probably figure out, oh, let me type in, what do I know about this guy? Let me add the word serious or add the word comedy. That's me. So I don't get the point if they even found me on LinkedIn. No one's on LinkedIn on a pseudonym. I digress. Meanwhile, about 40 feet away, I scribbled down his words in my notebook, suddenly terrified that my neighbors would notice and snitch on the snitch. Chappelle didn't seem particularly angry about it, though. He was using it as a setup. Next came a half-hearted sidewalk poop joke, and he pounced on the lack of reaction. Chappelle used a derogatory term I don't want to repeat here, so I will paraphrase. Chappelle did something along the lines of, and a hush goes over the San Francisco crowd. I left a word out. You can ask Dave what he said. Here we go. Here's the loaded paragraph. For those who've been following the past few years of his career, that line isn't that surprising. Chappelle turned heel with a string of controversial Netflix specials that earned him widespread condemnation from the LGBTQ community and a place on the anti-woke Mount Rushmore. Oh, anti-woke Mount Rushmore. Who's on anti-woke Mount Rushmore? I'm curious. Well, here's the answer. Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, Kanye West, and Dave Chappelle. That's anti-woke Mount Rushmore. I feel bad for Ricky Gervais. He didn't make it. What's this guy's name again? Dan Gentile writes, he relished villain status, leading into his grievances and casting himself as an underdog, even though he's rich enough to have purchased nearly an entire town in Ohio, a move he cleverly describes as reverse gentrification, an explanation for the surprise show. This time, it was an opportunity for him to test out new material while waiting out his 1-year non-compete clause from Netflix. Chappelle said, I'm practicing on you. What resulted was more of a fireside chat than a typical stand-up set. That's like 80% of the time you see Dave Chappelle, that he's just kind of hanging out and talking. I dropped the G there, Queen's accent. As is common for many comedians these days, he uses a service called Yonder, which collects attendees' cell phones. Yeah, Johnny Mac does not like Yonder. Dave acted a little more self-aware this time around, sincerely apologizing halfway through a joke about domestic violence to anyone in the room who had experienced it, but he could not stay away from the slurs. He'd sneak them into unrelated bits, dog whistling about his old grudges. For such a virtuistic storyteller, it felt like a lazy move, a misdirected misdirection. When discussing our divided country, he drew the battle lines of a civil war as MAGA versus gay slur land. But he said in this case, he'd likely be on San Francisco's side. Politics was a recurring theme. This is a fascinating article. I didn't realize how deep this was going to be. Dave said the upcoming election is the hardest of black people's lives. He did not elaborate why. The war in Gaza was another topic. Chappelle dropped in a line about Israel having the right to defend itself and feeling like the best defense is a good offense. He bemoaned the fact that the U.S. is sending guns to Israel and food to Palestine and that the hostages seem to have disappeared from the conversation before pivoting back to familiar territory. Now, I've looked ahead. As a joke, now, if you understand comedy, this is just a line. I understand why people are going to be upset about this line. I've critiqued Dave about this before, but just as a joke, this is a good line, okay? So I'll back up. Dave is talking about how the hostages have disappeared from the conversation before pivoting back to familiar territory. His line, if the hostages were transgender, they'd be rescued. That's just out of Dave Chappelle and the persona that he's built up where you know he's going to do that. Him actually doing it in that context, I think that line is funny. That's Dave making fun of Dave. That's Dave making fun of the Dave character that he's become. Now, I don't know why he's chosen to become the character, but now he's making fun of the character. One of the bigger laughs was about a communist toy store, Toys R Us for all of us. But it was followed by a distasteful rhyme about Chinese people that's so cliche, it would barely score a laugh on an elementary school playground. Let me jump in again. This is a workout show, right? I mean, this is what it is. He's trying out material. Some stuff didn't fly. That's what this show is. It's a workout. For such a small show, the crowd wasn't that lively, a fact that wasn't lost on Chappelle. At one point, he playfully said the crowd sucked. It went longer than his scheduled hour, finishing 3 cocktails before a bartender brought him a beer, which he took as a subtle hint. Dave said, I understand. Then joked he planned to have a few more beers after the show and go fight some crime. See, that's funny too. Good callback. What drew the biggest laughs were nostalgic stories about the origin of sketches from his Comedy Central show. Also of note, the Blue Note Jazz Festival in Napa, they announced the 2024 lineup. Not on the lineup this year, Dave Chappelle. Dave was the headliner the last 2 years. He violated the curfew of the festival both years. Wow, we are long today. All right, bump. Plus, I'm in a bad mood. Plus, I told you already, it's almost 5 o'clock. All right, Sydney Comedy Festival. I think tomorrow is the last day. Yep, this is it. All right, who haven't we looked at yet? Freddie McManus's show is called Remind Me Later. Freddie McManus is putting on a show about all the things he's been putting off. He's seen the damage procrastination can do, with the deadbeat family dog still living with mom at home after 76 canine years. I like one of the reviews. That review reads, as seen opening for Jim Jeffries. Theater Thoughts gave it 4.5 stars, a non-stop barrel of laughs, will leave you with tears in your eyes and a giddiness in your step. Grace Jarvis's show is called Oh, the Horrors. It's her 3rd solo show. Grace will touch on the themes of establishing independence and identity evaluation loaded with the trademark whimsical Jarvis social commentary. Continuing to secure her place as one of the rising stars of the Australian comedy scene, no reviews. And, I was going to click on Paul Douglas' Thirst for the Worst, but it says canceled. I wonder why it was canceled. Well, maybe the description tells us this is what it says for real. You know that feeling that makes you just go, F it? That's why it was canceled. One more. The very last box on the grid, all right? Xavier Michelides. I'm counting on you. His show is called Xavier is a Massive Tool. The Herald Sun gave it 5 stars. The Enthusiast, great name, says hugely impressive with creativity and wit to burn. Chortle says Michelides isn't just a larger-than-life character actor in the mold of Matt Lucas. He's a more than useful writer, too. Interesting. All right. Sydney Comedy Festival, bookmark, delete. And with that, I get a fraction of memory back in my computer. How is this podcast so long today? I didn't expect to talk about Chappelle for 10 minutes. I didn't plan this. All right. I'll be back tomorrow. Normally, I record the weekend all at once, but it's 4:17 on Friday afternoon, and I just want to be done, and I got some work to do. All right. I know. Poor me. Podcasting in the basement. Life is so hard. Shut up, Johnny Mac. See you tomorrow.